What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Taking the Pin. And in just a few short days at the time of recording, Saturday night's main event will be taking place this weekend. And we've only got a few matches really to go through and to preview for you today. So, with that being said, Bragster, what are your hype levels for Saturday night's main event going into this weekend's action?
More than the last one
Mm-hmm.
is probably the best way of describing it. Obviously, we all know that this has kind of weirdly replaced what the Saudi shows were before, a little bit of like glorified house shows, a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. Obviously, the last one did lead into Jay losing and then Jay winning the Rumble, and this that, and the other. But ultimately, a lot of the matches end up being quite predictable. We know, obviously, over in the UK and internationally, it is free to watch, so they're not going to give away the best matches in the world when it's free to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And in America, I think it's more easily accessible, if I remember correctly,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a big reason why they're doing it, is to basically promote WWE more.
Yeah.
So therefore you put on some really good matches, but ultimately, if you miss it, you're going to be fine. I still feel like there's some really banging matches. I have to say, they've pulled this one out the bag a little bit
Yeah.
of to have it so quick after Backlash. What they've done quite cleverly is they've built Backlash, but in the background had a few feuds going, so they can go straight into Saturday night's main event with a few of the feuds that are a bit more predictable, maybe, or we've already maybe seen them before type matches where you're not going to miss them on a big pay-per-view card, maybe like Money in the Bank down the road. It's also then also in the mix to the Money in the Bank qualifiers where you can maybe wrap a few things up so a couple of these people can qualify for that Money in the Bank match down the road. But ultimately, I'm more inclined to watch this one than I was the last one. The last one I watched, I think I only watched the Gunther match last time because I heard it was good, so I watched it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't that intrigued. This is one where I probably will watch the show, which says a lot, really, in terms of in comparison to what it was before. Obviously, it won't be the same hype levels as a normal pay per view, but it's still there enough where there's a lot on this card to like.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like you say, I watched the last one purely because obviously we discuss all things wrestling on here, so it's kind of like I wanted to just keep myself on top of things. Um, and we've only got 4 matches, so it feels like it's going to be a nice,
Mm.
short and sweet show where you're not necessarily have to invest in your entire afternoon to watch it, and there isn't maybe 6 or 7 different things going on to have to try and keep yourself chewed up on going into it. So yeah, I feel the same as you. It's going to be. I feel like it's going to be a fun night. I don't necessarily feel like it's going to be an all-star classic of a show, but I feel like the classic black and gold NXT of
Mm.
the golden days as I call them. I think it'll be a good show. I think every match has the potential to be match of the night. I would maybe say one of them doesn't, but we'll get into that in a bit. Um, but yeah, I'm still very much looking forward to see what happens. And I think the thing that's got me most excited, which we did a video about last week, and obviously went up on the channel, was obviously who the third man may potentially be for
Mm.
Seth and Braun, and we might not get that answer on Saturday's main event. But that's kind of the thing that I'm most hooked
Mm.
into, is to see where that goes.
Yeah.
And if we do get anything from there. Now, going into it, I kind of suspected that the main event would end up being Jey Uso versus Logan for the title. Do you think that still be the case, even with this potential mystery reveal, or do you think it depends on if there is someone to reveal or not?
I think it will be. I've seen reports come out, I think, earlier on today.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have been early afternoon, actually, that at time of recording, obviously, that it will be the main event. It's the planned main event. And there's been, obviously, when WWE say something's the main event, it never truly is sometimes. But apparently on socials, they've kind of hinted that it will be, or on the website, something says somewhere that it is the main event. So for me, I think it will be. I don't think they're changing that, which says to me that maybe the tag match opens
Yeah.
the show. If the For me, if the tag match doesn't open, we're not getting the third man. I don't feel. I feel like that's such a big moment. They'll want that to be something that hypes the event. So you either have it at the end or you have it at the start where, it's live and people are going, oh my God, I need to tune in now because anything might happen type ordeal. But the issue is for them is they've got a steel cage match as well on there that, is going to be hard to place in the card if it's not, again, the opener.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have to then recover the crowd a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I feel like they've stacked the show that much that anything could happen, anything could surprise me in terms of what opens. I do think that closes the show. I think that they will want a match that maybe is a little bit more unpredictable. Also, you got to think if it is free to watch in a lot of places, Logan Paul's the perfect man that you'll want to be hyping that show around.
Yeah, for a casual fan, he's kind of
exactly. And this is the most casual fan show you're really gonna get in modern day WWE. I do feel like the issue that they have though is that anything could open and anything could close on this show. All 4 matches are great. All 4 the crowd will care about, which says to me that either they're going to have to add one more match before we get there, or they're going to have to add a segment of some sort, because I feel like they're going to have to give the crowd a break because 4 matches like this much back to back to back, I feel like could be a bit much. I mean, I could be wrong. This could be one of the best shows. And it could completely, like, if all the matches deliver, it's going to be one of the best shows of the year, and that would be a huge surprise for a Saturday night's main event. But Triple H seems hot on this sort of show. He seems to, obviously, it's nostalgia at the same time, but he seems really hot on it. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they actually just go gung ho for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, I think in a world of wrestling where you have so much content to watch and so much to see, like, even just if you take WWE on its own, never mind going to AEW in the independents and all the shows you can watch there, but like WWE, you have 3 hours for Raw. Currently, you've got 3 hours for SmackDown. Obviously, that's bumping down back to 2 hours at some point. You've got NXT. You've got all the other shows that WWE have going
LFG, on, which is just finished.
Evolve and everything like that as well, which is the YouTube show they've got. Like, there is a lot of stuff. If you want to watch every single thing WWE, not that I'm saying anyone should, but if you are that involved in and hooked up to WWE that you will watch everything, you're getting easily close to double digits every week to watch it. So even I think there was I can't remember if I have this right in my head of if I've remembered this right. But I'm sure, like, over the next, 10 weeks, there's, some form of, PLE or Saturday Night's Main Event or show, and potentially ones that we don't know about yet, potentially being added, which is crazy to think. That's a lot of wrestling to watch over the weekend and weeks as well, if you want to keep up to date with storylines and stuff. And I know during the Vince era, especially sort of in that mid 2000s, that 2010s era when they did the brand split, and I remember they had the brand pay-per-views, and it was that was pay-per-views every 2 weeks, and then you had the NXTs, and then it's starting to almost get back to that, but obviously the quality's still there, so it's not like it's sagging because of that. But you can see if that is a continuous cycle for the rest of the year, that it could start to get that way. But in terms of, sorry, go on.
No, I agree. That it could. I wonder if this is an experiment, because as we all know as wrestling fans, WrestleMania happens and all of the casuals and etc. drop off. I wonder whether this is an experiment to keep people watching, because it's it becomes must-see TV up until SummerSlam, and then you go back into the normal scheduled programming because you've managed to keep the viewers.
Yeah.
I wonder whether it's an experiment to see whether maybe packing post-Mania so you can build a bunch of new stars really quickly, like we're seeing with Roxanne
Mm-hmm.
and Julia, for example, not including Rusev, Aleister Blacks that have come back, and people coming back from injuries, and the returns of the likes of Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss getting a bit more momentum. So I wonder whether this is an experiment in the sense of maybe packing this period means they can build a bunch of people and really fast track a bunch of storylines that they maybe want to. Austin Theory and Grayson Waller's another one that seems to be flying at the moment that maybe wouldn't usually be able to fly because it would be taken up by these big matches, but instead these big matches are happening elsewhere, so it means they're able to plonk these in other situations.
Yeah.
I wonder whether it's an experiment, and ultimately it's doing the right thing because it's still on everyone's feeds. Everyone's still talking about WWE because it's non-stop at the moment. You feel like you can't breathe, and for people like you and me and the other wrestling channels that are far bigger than us, God help us all, because it's so much wrestling content to try and consume.
Yeah.
But that's what they want. They want it to take over. They want us to think about it non-stop. The other day, when we play FIFA and Pro Clubs together, on the weekly basis sort of thing with other friends that we have. Yes, we have other friends, by the way. But
yeah, I think the shocking remark there is that we actually have friends. But yeah.
But when we do that, the other night, I literally had WWE on in the background. I had the John Cena Randy Orton main event because I hadn't watched that yet. I had the TLC match from after Mania that I still hadn't watched up to that point, like on in the background. And I barely had the commentary on, like it was very much on in the background, like not much. But it's like I feel that consumed that I like need to catch up. That I'm then while I'm doing other things, got it on in the background. That's exactly what they want. Like that's exactly what Netflix want.
Yeah.
Netflix get the most viewerships from the bingeable shows that they have.
Yeah.
Maybe this is WWE's attempt of almost making them a bingeable show.
Yeah.
Where if you miss the events of the week, you stick it on a Saturday in the background and you just go from show to show to show with it on the background of your TV while you go and do other things around the house.
Yeah.
I wonder whether it is that, and that's maybe the route they're trying to go.
100%. No, I hadn't thought of it like that, but I do. I don't disagree with that at all, Brooks. I think that's a point well made. So, in terms of going into these matches, then obviously we've spoke about like what our hype is in terms of the overall show. Is there a particular match that you would pick above everybody else that you think is gonna be match of the night, or do you think it's a tough one to call because all four have something special in them?
I think it's really tough to call. I think the obvious one that I think a lot of people are going to say, and you're going to say yourself, is the tag match. I think is the obvious one that everyone's really looking forward to. But I know what my pick is to steal the show. That's a steel cage. You've got two of the best wrestlers on the roster in a match where either could win. You had Drew get the victory at Mania, so do you get Priest given the win back? Or do you have Drew go over again and then gain a lot of momentum going into Money in the Bank? Is he going to be maybe Jay's challenger or something at Money in the Bank per se, if they really want to do that, and have a world title match on that card? That maybe he goes up to Cena per se, right? And he's the man. If they want to go down the route of really pushing Drew. But I feel like with that match, it's the most unpredictable on the card. Actually, I'll go as far to say it's the only unpredictable match on the card. I think the other three are really obvious to the point where not only is this unpredictable, but it's a steel cage match with two of the best pieces of talent that WWE have on their books.
Yeah.
I truly believe that will be the one that steals the show, and people aren't going to talk about it going in. I forgot it was on the card before I checked last night and this morning. I was like, oh wait, this is on the card. I completely forgot about that. I mean, that's how people are going to react, and then everyone's going to be talking about it on Sunday.
100%. I again, I think the steel cage is probably my pick to probably be match of the night. In terms of the one that I'm most looking forward to, it is that tag match, like you say. Obvious reasons. You've got the four people involved of Punk, Zayn, Rollins, and Breaker, all really probably not, maybe not Punk, but I would say the other three are kind of in their peaks at the minute. Breaker's certainly on the way up, if not getting close to it. And to be honest, the four of them will put on an absolute banger of a match. And there's the outcome of it as well in terms of, will the third man show up for Seth and Braun? What's going to happen there? Is that going to potentially feed into the heavyweight championship match? Because obviously of the over lurking shadow of Heyman and co, and obviously the back and forth he's had with Jay on last night's Raw. Obviously that all plays into it as well, because Jay might well win, but the close out of the show may well be the shot of the faction stood tall over him or something like that. So yeah, I think in terms of my pick of what's probably going to steal the show and be match of the night, I would agree in terms of what you're saying there with the steel cage. But in terms of intrigue and how it's going to work and what it's going to look like afterwards and the aftermath of it, it's definitely got to be that tag match for me. But that being said, I think we are heading towards a good show, if not great show, this weekend. Barely spoke about Cena and Truth and obviously what that's going to bring.
That's in the back of my mind. It's just like Cena and Truth is on this card, and we've not spoken about it once. That's again how good this card is.
Yeah,
is the fact that this could genuinely be the moment that Cena starts turning babyface again, and you start seeing the good side of Cena again. And again, we're not talking about it. That just, I mean, that just says so much about the quality that WWE are producing right now.
Yeah.
Like, they have not let up after Mania, as we mentioned earlier. It's just been steamrolled, going straight ahead. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if the cards that we keep seeing for these shows are of this height, then we're in for a good time.
Yeah.
Despite, obviously, like I'm saying, there is a lot to come. But if they keep bringing match cards up, which are going to be of this quality, then we can't really complain, can we? So, with that being said, folks, that is a little bit of a preview and look into Saturday night's main event from us too. Let us know down in the comments, what is your most hyped match? Like, what are you most looking forward to? Let us know in there. And obviously, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button so you can see more wrestling content from these two ugly mugs. And we will catch you on the next one where God knows what we'll be talking about, but we'll see you there.